Every nightmare begins with a whisper. You're listening to Once Upon a Mic, where true horror finds a voice. Today's horror story is about the Screaming Woods of Pluckley. There are places in England so old, so soaked in blood and whispers that time forgets to clean them. Places like Pluckley. You don't go to Pluckley unless you're already broken or looking to get that way. And no one walks into daring woods after dark. Not anymore. But 3 idiots did, and none of them came back the same. It was supposed to be a weekend trip. A bit of a ghost hunting, a bit of drinking, a break from the mundane hell of warehouse jobs and council flats. 3 men, Dane, Curtis and Mikey, childhood friends, barely scraping into their 30s, carrying too much weight in their guts and hearts. Dane was the ringleader, always a taste for a macabre. Collected old medical tools, read true crime forums like scripture. Curtis was the skeptic, the one who always came because he was tired of saying no. And Mikey was just along for the ride. He always was. They arrived on a fog-choked Saturday. The woods loomed like a scab on the edge of the village. Black, dripping, old. Daring woods, nicknamed the Screaming Woods, because the locals claimed they could hear cries at night. High, keening things that rose from trees like steam from a corpse. Dane loved it. He grinned as he unzipped his tent. "This is where they hung the highwayman," he said, pointing toward the gnarled oak. "Legend says he still runs through the trees, bleeding, screaming." Curtis rolled his eyes. "Legend says you're full of shit." They set up camp, popped beers, smoked, shot the breeze. But night came fast in Daring Woods. It always does. The sun dropped like a stone behind the trees, and with it came cold. And the quiet. Too quiet. The forest sucked up sound like a sponge. No birds, no rustling, just the crackle of their fire and the occasional cough. They told stories, urban legends, the suicide schoolgirl, the monk that slit his own throat. Pluckley had a dozen ghosts. Hell, it was the Guinness Book of World Record once. Most haunted village in England. At around midnight, Mikey stood up, pale. "You hear that?" Curtis shook his head. "Hear what?" But Dane was already listening. A sound. Thin, reedy, like a woman wailing. Long and sharp. Rising and falling like wind through a keyhole. But it wasn't wind. It sounded wrong. Like pain made into a sound. Mikey wanted to leave, said the wood felt tight, like they were pressing in, like someone or something was watching. Curtis laughed, called him a baby, but even he wasn't smiling anymore. They all heard it now, the screaming, faint but real, and closer. Dane grabbed his recorder and flashlight. we're going in." Curtis barked, "Are you serious?" But Dane was already walking towards the sound, grinning like a boy about to unwrap Christmas. Mikey hesitated, but followed. Curtis cursed and went in after them. The trees swallowed them whole. Flashlight beams danced off branches like bones. The path disappeared after 50 feet. Then the screaming stopped. Dead silence. Then a snap behind them. They spun, but nothing. Then a laugh, high and thin, like a child pretending to cry. Then another snap. They turned again. Still nothing. "Mikey," Dane whispered. "You see that?" In the beam of his flashlight, a figure stood. A woman, pale, dirty, clothes torn, eyes wide open and shining. And she didn't move. Then she opened her mouth, and the scream hit them. A wall of sound, human but not, too loud, too sharp, like something trying to peel sound out of their brain. They ran, branches tore off at their faces. Roots grabbed at their boots. The forest seemed to shift, turn and close in, and the screams followed, high, low, echoing. Not just one voice anymore, dozens, hundreds. Curtis tripped and fell hard. Dane and Mikey kept running. Then silence. Dane stopped, painting. Mikey wasn't behind him anymore. They found him 2 hours later, curled against a tree, eyes wide, hands clamped over his ears, blood running from his nose. He couldn't speak, not then, not for a week. When he finally did, all he said was, "There under the ground." They left Pluckley that night, didn't even take their tents. Curtis refused to talk about it. Dane, he uploaded the recordings. Static mostly, but if you listen close, you can hear a woman whispering, "You heard us. Now we hear you." 2 weeks later, Dane was missing. His flat was found trashed, blood smeared on the walls, no sign of struggle, no body, but the neighbors swore they heard screaming. Mikey checked himself into a mental facility, refuses to speak English anymore, only hums, rocks back and forth, and sometimes at night screams. And Curtis, he moved to Scotland, changed his name, but once a year on the anniversary he calls Mikey's mother, just to ask if the woods are all still screaming. Pluckley is still there, so are the woods, still dark, still hungry, still screaming. And if you ever find yourself walking near daring woods after dark, don't follow the sound, because once you hear them, they hear you. You've been listening to Once Upon a Mic. If you hear voices in the woods tonight, pretend you didn't, and never look back. Subscribe for more darkness. Until next time, keep your mic close. Once upon a